In the quiet suburbs of America, where children play on freshly cut lawns and neighbors wave at each other from across white picket fences, life often looks perfect. Families smile for photographs. Couples walk hand in hand on weekends. And behind closed doors, laughter echoes through the walls. But sometimes what looks perfect on the outside is already breaking on the inside. This is the story of Emily and Daniel. To the world, they were a dream couple. To their friends, they were the definition of stability. And to their children, they were everything. But behind the polished family dinners and framed photographs, a storm was quietly brewing. One that would destroy trust, test resilience, and change their lives forever. Emily met Daniel during her sophomore year of college. She was studying literature. He was focused on business. She loved words. He loved numbers. Somehow, their worlds collided, and everyone around them said the same thing. They're perfect for each other. Their love grew quickly. Study sessions turned into late-night talks. Coffee dates became long drives. Before Emily knew it, she couldn't imagine a world without Daniel in it. And for a time, he seemed to feel the same. Years later, after graduation, they married. Their wedding was small but beautiful. Fairy lights, vows whispered under a sunset sky, and promises of forever. Friends remembered the way Daniel looked at Emily that day, like she was his whole universe. Emily remembered the way he held her hand, firm and steady, like nothing could ever shake them. And soon, their family grew. 2 children came into their lives. First a daughter, then a son. Their house was filled with bedtime stories, birthday candles, school projects, and the kind of messy joy only kids can bring. On the outside, they had it all. A beautiful home in a safe neighborhood. Vacations that filled photo albums, family gatherings full of laughter. Emily would sometimes sit on the porch, watching her children play, sipping her coffee, and thinking, this is everything I ever dreamed of. But dreams can turn into illusions. And illusions don't last forever. It began subtly. Daniel started coming home later than usual. At first, Emily thought little of it. He worked in finance and long hours came with the job. She told herself, he's just tired. He's working for us, for the kids, for our future. But little things began to pile up. His phone, once left casually on the counter, was now always in his pocket, locked with a passcode. He'd step outside to take calls that he once would have answered at the dinner table. He started wearing a new cologne, one Emily didn't recognize, and when she asked, he shrugged it off with a laugh. Just something I picked up at the mall, he said, but the scent clung to him in a way that made her uneasy. Then came the excuses. I have a late meeting. The client needed me. Traffic was terrible. Each explanation seemed reasonable, but together they formed a pattern Emily couldn't ignore. Nights grew lonelier. Their once warm conversations turned into short, distracted exchanges. Daniel, who used to ask about her day, now seemed lost in his own world. Emily tried to brush it off. She told herself marriages went through phases, that maybe they just needed time, but deep down, she felt a distance growing, one that words alone couldn't bridge. The human heart has a way of sensing what the eyes cannot see. Emily's instincts whispered to her that something was wrong. When Daniel smiled, his eyes no longer held the same warmth. When he hugged her, his touch felt rushed, distracted. She began noticing details. A lipstick stain faintly visible on his collar, a receipt in his pocket for a dinner she hadn't shared with him, a late-night message notification that disappeared before she could read it. One night after putting the kids to bed, Emily sat alone in the kitchen. The house was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. She stared at the clock, 11:45 p.m. Daniel still wasn't home. Her mind raced with questions. Where is he? Why isn't he answering my calls? Who is he with? When the front door finally opened, Daniel walked in, smelling faintly of alcohol and perfume. He kissed her on the forehead and muttered, I'm exhausted. Long day. Then he went straight to bed. Emily sat at the table for hours that night, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of something she didn't want to admit. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. The distance grew wider. Emily's friends noticed her distracted looks, her forced smiles. Her mother asked gently, Is everything okay, sweetheart? But Emily brushed it off. She wasn't ready to admit it. Not to them. Not even to herself. Because admitting it meant her perfect life was crumbling. and she wasn't ready for that truth. Still, the doubt ate at her. At night, she lay awake beside Daniel, listening to him breathe, wondering if he was dreaming of someone else. During the day, she caught herself staring at his phone, waiting for a chance to see what secrets it held. Trust, once broken, leaves a silence louder than words. And in that silence, Emily's heart was breaking. It happened on an ordinary evening, the kind that begins quietly and ends with a storm no one sees coming. The children were asleep. The house was silent. Daniel stepped into the shower, steam fogging up the bathroom mirror. And for the first time in months, his phone lay unattended on the nightstand, its screen glowing faintly in the dark. Emily sat at the edge of the bed. Her hands trembled. Her heart pounded. She told herself not to look, that she didn't want to become the kind of woman who snoops. But another voice whispered louder, "You already know the truth. You just need proof." With shaking fingers, she picked up the phone. The lock screen lit up with a notification. A message. 3 simple words that shattered her world. "I miss you." Her breath caught. She unlocked the phone, a code she had secretly memorized weeks ago when Daniel wasn't careful. The messages unfolded before her eyes like knives cutting through her chest. "Last night was perfect. You make me feel alive. I love you more than anything." There were pictures too. Smiling faces, dinners, stolen moments that should have been hers. Each message was a betrayal, each image a confirmation that the man she had trusted had given his heart to someone else. Her tears blurred the screen. The world spun around her. She put the phone down quickly, afraid he would step out and catch her. But the damage was done. The truth was no longer hidden. The life she thought she had was gone. When Daniel came out of the shower, towel around his shoulders, Emily sat frozen on the bed. She looked at him, but she didn't see her husband anymore. She saw a stranger, a liar, a man who had chosen someone else over the family they built. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw the phone at him, demand answers, demand reasons, but her voice betrayed her. No words came out, only silence, and sometimes silence says more than rage ever could. That night, Emily cried quietly beside him as he slept, unaware, or perhaps pretending to be unaware, of the storm inside her. Her tears soaked the pillow, each drop a memory of the life they once shared. Days passed, but Emily couldn't carry the weight any longer. One evening after dinner, when the children had gone upstairs, she stood in the kitchen and asked the question that had been burning inside her. Her voice trembled. "Who is she?" Daniel froze. He didn't ask, "What do you mean?" He didn't pretend to be confused. He didn't even deny it. He just stared at her, his silence heavier than any confession. Emily's tears streamed down her face. "After everything we've built, after everything we've been through, was it all a lie?" Still, he said nothing. His guilt filled the room, pressing against the walls, suffocating them both. That silence was her answer. From that day on, their home was no longer a home. It became a battlefield of avoidance and tension. Meals were eaten in silence. The children, too young to understand, felt the shift. They noticed the way their parents avoided each other's eyes, the way their mother's smile no longer reached her eyes. Arguments replaced conversations. Every word turned sharp, every silence heavier. Emily tried to forgive, tried to believe his promises when he muttered, "It was nothing. It won't happen again." But betrayal doesn't just disappear. It lingers, poisoning every touch, every kiss, every memory. She looked at the man she once loved and realized the person standing before her was not the same man she married. The Daniel she loved was gone, replaced by someone she could no longer recognize. At night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, asking herself, do I stay and suffer? Or do I leave and shatter everything? Both choices hurt. But one promised healing. The other promised a lifetime of pain. One evening, her daughter asked quietly at the dinner table, "Mommy, why are you sad?" Emily's heart broke. She forced a smile, but tears filled her eyes. Children notice. They always do. They may not understand the details, but they feel the pain. And Emily realized her pain was no longer hers alone. It was shaping her children's world too. She knew something had to change. Not just for her, but for them. After the truth surfaced, nothing was the same. The walls of their home, once filled with laughter and warmth, now echoed with silence and anger. Emily tried. She truly did. She tried to hold on to the man she once loved, to the life they had built, to the memories that once made her smile. But betrayal changes everything. Love turns into suspicion. Trust turns into questions. And every day became a reminder of the wounds Daniel had left. Conversations became arguments. Simple questions sparked fights. Emily would ask, "Where were you?" And Daniel would snap back, "Do you not trust me?" Her silence would answer louder than words. Their children began to feel it too. They would sit quietly at dinner, pushing food around their plates, their eyes flicking nervously between their parents. The home they once knew as safe and happy was now heavy with tension. Emily realized she was losing more than her husband. She was losing herself. Her laughter had faded. Her joy had disappeared. She was living in a prison built from lies, and prisons are not homes. One evening, after another argument, Emily stood by the window, staring into the night. The children were asleep. Daniel had slammed the door and left once again. Tears rolled down her face, but her heart felt strangely calm. She whispered to herself, "I can't do this anymore. I won't do this anymore." That night, she made the hardest decision of her life. She would let go. She would break free. Because staying was breaking her spirit, but leaving was the only chance she had to heal. The courthouse was cold, its walls painted in shades of gray that matched the mood inside. Emily sat with her lawyer, her hands trembling as she clutched the papers that would end her marriage. Across the room sat Daniel, the man she once loved, the man who had been her everything, now just a stranger. The proceedings began. Words like irreconcilable differences, custody, and division of assets filled the air. To others, it was just another divorce case. But to Emily, it was the death of a life she had once believed would last forever. Daniel tried to explain, tried to minimize, but the truth was undeniable. The evidence was there. The betrayal was clear. And no amount of excuses could erase the pain. Emily sat silently, tears filling her eyes. But behind those tears was strength. She realized that she was not here to fight for love anymore. She was here to fight for freedom. When the judge finally signed the papers, declaring the marriage dissolved, Emily felt her heart shatter one last time. But beneath the breaking was something new, a strange sense of relief. She had lost her husband, but she had found herself. Emily walked out of the courthouse into the bright afternoon sun. The air felt different, lighter. She took a deep breath, and for the first time in months, she felt free. Her children ran to her, wrapping their small arms around her waist. And in that moment, she realized something important. Love had not left her life. Love still existed. It lived in her children. It lived in her strength. And it would one day live in her laughter again. Divorce was not the end. It was the beginning of a new story, one she would write for herself, with courage, with resilience, and with hope. This is not just Emily's story. It is the story of countless families across America, families who smile for the world while breaking in silence. Betrayal cuts deep. It destroys trust. It shatters dreams. But it does not destroy you. Divorce is not failure. Divorce is survival. Divorce is strength. Sometimes the end of love is not tragedy. It is transformation. It is the moment when silence breaks, truth rises, and freedom takes its first breath. Emily's story reminds us that no matter how dark betrayal feels, no matter how heavy the pain, there is always light on the other side. Because sometimes, the end of a marriage is not the end of a life. It is the beginning of the life you were always meant to live.